Something inexplicable is happening where almost half the population say they remember things from the past being different or changed.
The Mandela effect got its name because there was a very large segment of the population that believed that Nelson Mandela died decades earlier. Suddenly, his recent death was announced. Billions of people are interested in this topic, that memory isn't jiving up with reality.
Yes, it's like the Twilight Zone. Not everything is what you think it is.
In the car in which John F. Kennedy was assassinated, there were 6 passengers. I've watched the videos over and over. There is no way in my mind you could tell me there were 6 people in that car.
Things that people know so well just be twisted just enough to get people to question whether or not what they remembered was real.
There are many possibilities for the origins of the Mandela effect. Some people think it's a simple case of mass misremembering, but the prevailing notion involves the idea that there are other universes existing right next to ours.
Fundamental reality as we know it can change. This lines up with sciences of today. CERN is a collider where they're smashing particles. Stephen Hawking, he warned people about CERN, very adamant that this was not something that we should be doing. We could be in a simulation. We don't know who is in charge. It could be aliens. It could be angels or demons, some people say. It could be just artificial intelligence.
The nightmare scenarios that could stem from that are just limitless.
Now, a growing number of people want to know if history is being edited.
Hi, Robert. Jeff in Las Vegas. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about the Mandela effect phenomenon.
My pleasure.
Man, oh man, this movie this freaked me out. It answered a lot of questions over my lifetime.
That's good.
Maybe if you want to start by telling our viewers what exactly, I didn't know what it was called, the Mandela effect phenomenon. What is it exactly?
Well, the Mandela effect phenomenon is something that occurred and was recognized around 2000, maybe 13, 14. It's a little bit vague in a lot of people's minds because the effects were occurring probably before this, but it was literally kind of coined when a lot of people, for whatever reason, while Nelson Mandela was still alive before he died, the people that basically thought he was already dead were in the millions and millions of people. Millions of people, through different polling and different things researchers did, thought Nelson Mandela never came out of prison, never ran South Africa's march against apartheid, never did all the great things he did to help bring peace and a calming to South Africa, as if he died in prison, never came. And by the way, remember the funeral he had in prison, you know, his wife was crying, and that was all while he was still alive. And that freaked out so many people. Some researchers went out and found other effects and other effects to the point where 2015, 16, 17, YouTube was filled with videos of people pointing to other Mandela effects. A Mandela effect being you think somehow a memory of yours was one way, but then you look and you go, wait a minute, no, it's not that way. How could that be? I remember distinctly. In our documentary, we show the evidence, what's called residual evidence, that not only are these people memory not jiving with reality, but there's evidence that at one time, they're not crazy, at one time something was one way and is no longer that way, as if it never existed that way. But the evidence that we show is really compelling.
You know, it's crazy because I've had in my lifetime, you know, I'm pushing 60 now. There are things from my childhood, from almost every decade where I'm like, I don't remember it that way. You know, certain movies and events, I'm like, that is not what happened. You know, so I think I probably everybody has some sort of example of this, but what's the explanation? Is it supernatural? Is it multidimensional? There's all different kinds of theories, isn't there?
Yeah, the evidence, by the way, is one thing. And I just wanted, before we get into the theories of what may be causing it, I want to say right off the bat, our movie, we spent several years trying to make sure, chronicling the Mandela effects, trying to see which ones could we prove, which ones could we not prove. There's no proof. We only focused on the things that have residual evidence. There's something in my timeline, in my life, does not match what I'm seeing in our reality right now. So I'll give you just one example, then we'll talk about the effect, what's causing it potentially. So I remember years ago, just myself, I used to go to a bus stop in New York at a certain mall where I grew up in New York. And at that mall, J.C. Penney, J.C. P.E.N.N.Y., okay, no E.Y., no Penne. It was J.C. Penney. It was clear as day, and it was so endemically printed in my brain because I would wait for the bus endlessly for these times we would go to this mall. And right in front of us, what are you going to be staring at? The J.C. Penney sign on the side of the building, you know? So that is no doubt in my mind proved out. We didn't show too much of that in our movie because it's a small one, but J.C. Penney in newspaper articles around the country throughout the decades, you can find many ads for J.C. Penney where it's not EY, it's a Y. That's where it looks like two different timeline points kind of came together and mushed together, and we have a combination of things in our timeline. What would have caused two different in other words, there was another reality right next to this reality where J.C. Penney was spelled with EY. And somehow that version of it came and kind of overlapped the one I remember in my reality. So we have a merging of realities, it looks like, to many people. Now, how could that be? Well, CERN in Switzerland is actually trying to create collisions with particles to emulate the Big Bang. If you emulate the Big Bang, you're kind of playing God, right? So when you play God and you're trying to do microscopic Big Bangs, are you creating black holes like Stephen Hawking said for years, that we may be creating the biggest problem at CERN in Switzerland that the world has ever imagined, way beyond nuclear war or nuclear things? This could literally make our universe go away like that in a blink of an eye by hitting particles together. That's Stephen Hawking, the brightest man on the planet probably before he died, or one of them, right? So he was warning us. The Wall Street Journal wrote with one of the times the particle collider was powered up, the Wall Street Journal wrote, CERN could open portals to hell. Wall Street Journal, where did they get that from? From the actual scientists that were saying they think they can punch a hole through this reality and maybe grab something from the other reality, or create some sort of a portal through, I guess, a black hole type thing. And literally some other entities might come in, maybe even demonic entities. Why would scientists be talking like that? That's crazy stuff.
I mean, it could be something editing history. Are we in a simulation, different timelines? There's so many different plausible.
You got it. We can go down the other ones too now. Right.
I'm just like, because, first I'm like, oh, this guy's crazy. What is this? And I'm like, wait a minute. I could sit here and think maybe of 10 examples of like that couldn't convince me any other ways that it was something else.
And by the way, simulation is another theory that the CERN particle collider collisions is a leading theory because not only was it predicted, companies making things like the quantum computer that were paired up with NASA and with CERN back a few years ago. Gordy Rose, who developed the quantum computer, which is a wild device we can get into, he's saying, we believe in the near future, we're going to be able to grab a piece of information from one dimension and pull it into this dimension. He's telling exactly what the Mandela effect is. But just about the time we were starting to see those effects. What are the odds that's a coincidence, right? So that's one theory, that CERN and quantum physics and all that, and screwing around with particles and trying to open up portals and whatever they were doing, kind of, screwed the pooch here, and something happened. Or it was intentional because people are saying, if they found a way in to play with particles and maybe affect reality and different dimensions, and what may be on another dimension, a changed word like J.C. Penney has changed just a little bit in a different dimension, then, basically a lot of other things are possible. So I still feel right now that is a very likely candidate for what caused the Mandela effect. And then we can talk about the simulation theory. Simulation is what Elon Musk and many others think is absolutely what our reality is. That we're not really physical. We're in a computer game. Everything we see, everything we do, I touch this microphone, I speak to you, we're ones and zeros. We're not even what we think we are. And everything we see around us is not real. It is somehow someone's computer game that we're in. Now, just when you want to, like you said before, this guy's nuts, maybe me, I don't know. But whoever you were referring to, or yourself, we're not nuts, okay? This is a very, very intriguing theory, and it makes you very unsettled to go, well, how could I be? I'm real. I'm biological. I'm thinking. How could I be in a computer game, right? Just when you want to say that's not possible, let's look at what Elon Musk is trying to say and then break it down. Elon Musk, in our movie, alludes to the very, very clear idea that if we're in a simulation, you have to remember, look where we were just 40 years ago. 40 years ago, we had Pong, just a little game, a little computer game. You're playing ping pong back and forth with a little bit of a little rectangle, and you're knocking a little ball around. It's simple. 40 years later, we have virtual reality glasses and 3D worlds or whatever. Where are we going to be 400 years from now? Where are we going to be 4,000 years from now? 400,000 years, 4 million, 4 billion years from now, if there's a race that lives that long. Who knows where we are? So we could well be in a simulation created by a super, super, super old race of maybe human-like creatures like us who made us in their image to run around and on this world and do what we do and have wars and have babies and live and all, and we're not real. Is it possible? According to Elon Musk, it is not only probable, it is a definite. It is not even debatable. It must be. He doesn't believe we're the base reality, which means we're the first ones ever to create computer games 40 years ago. And people later on in our future, humans are going to be like the ones making other realities. He thinks the odds are we're not based reality. We're not the original reality. So that means we must be in a computer game according to him. And then the Mandela, what's really crazy is there are like podcasts, other ones like Joe Rogan and other people like that have had scientists come on and explain the simulation theory. And when they explain the simulation theory, what they point to is the Mandela effect. And they go, the Mandela effect phenomenon is proof that we live in a simulation. It's like, because someone's editing history, like you said. And if they're editing history, then that's what you'd see. Changes to what we used to have, that's no longer there. And the other one that drives me crazy is Coca-Cola. I used to work on the bottle for Coca-Cola as a graphics expert in the Madison Avenue advertising world in New York, right out of college, before I jumped into journalism in my core life, what I do. And I'm telling you, I worked on the Coca-Cola bottle. Coke was Coke dash, a nice solid dash, cola. Not this Coca-Cola with some little dot. Above the Coca-Cola, it's like, what is that? There's a huge version of that logo out at Citi Field, my favorite baseball team from New York. I'm a Met guy, New York Mets. Out in Citi Field, you can look at in many stadiums, by the way, this gigantic Coca-Cola logo, and it's wrong. It shouldn't look like that to millions and millions of people. So that's where we are. And so I think those two theories are two of the best theories. Then we have the demonic theory. It could be demonic entities affecting our reality. It could be God trying to wake us up. And along those lines, there's a plethora of possibilities. Because the Bible verses have been changed. Bible verses that people have been saying for a millennia apparently have been changed. They're no longer the words in the Bible they remember. In fact, one guy we interviewed, we were going to add to the show, but we couldn't find him to really get the approval. He goes on the internet and he points out he used to have a yellowed out Bible. He has a Bible he read so prolifically that he highlighted it with yellow. And he went to his Bible one day and went, holy cow, my Bible's been changed by the Mandela effect phenomenon. These are Bible verses that are no longer he would read the Bible every day. So he knows when he goes to it and it's not right. He went crazy. We tried to get him to be in the movie, but we couldn't. We may bring him back for Mandela effect phenomenon 2.
You get a lot of food for thought. It's an incredible documentary. It made me think, since I saw it, and yes, you need a sequel. You need to do another one. So I appreciate it.
I hope to. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I think a lot.
And thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot.